Thank you, Sean. Welcome, everyone. We're really glad to have you attend our webinar today. And so we'll be highlighting some of the new capabilities here with the Quebec release. We'll also be going into the system and providing some demonstration of some of those capabilities as well. So in terms of the overall agenda, we've kind of completed introductions, but those of you that haven't worked with ResultsPositive before, just a quick introduction. We've been helping customers over the last few years. As a part of that, we've been helping organizations and me personally design and implement their project portfolio management solutions with over 300 plus customers over the last few years, and look forward to demonstrating today some of the new capabilities here with ServiceNow. And in terms of our agenda, we'll be highlighting here on the PPM side. So the roadmap planning, scenario planning, we'll be highlighting that from a demo perspective. We'll also be highlighting some of the resource management updates. We'll provide an overview here and some slides on the collaboration, virtual agent, and GRC integrations. This kind of helps with overall enterprise risk management. On the Agile side, we'll highlight the program planning. If we have time, we can show that in the solution as well. And we'll kind of describe and highlight on the app portfolio management items here, just with the GRC integrations. If you'd like to know more about that, we can schedule a follow-up when it comes to app portfolio management. And then we also wanted to highlight some of our new solutions. Many of the customers are looking for executive level reporting. They're looking for graphical project status reports. So we have some great solutions there that we can highlight for you as well. So that's our agenda today, and feel free to ask questions or chat if you have questions, and Sean will be the facilitator there. We'll definitely allow some time at the end for questions and a Q&A roundtable. So in terms of Quebec here, just kind of wanted to highlight here the ones in red, as I kind of mentioned before, that we'll be able to highlight here in the demonstration. So a really great new solution here for roadmap planning, and so we'll highlight that. Some great new features here in the scenario planning version 2. So it's no longer constrained just to a selected portfolio or a selected fiscal year. So some great new capabilities there. And then some ease of use capabilities here around resource management. So that's really nice capability to simplify some of the resource management activities. And then even a task level red, yellow, green status. So that's a good capability there for you to be able to track and view that in a couple of different places here on the platform. So that's kind of a brief overview of the PPM investments here and enhancements in Quebec. So here we have the alignment workspace, and it's really called roadmap planning. And so this allows you to plan different entities here on the platform. So this comes with ITBM standard. There's a pro edition that comes more on the Agile Epic side of this, but the standard comes here. So you could look at creating a demand roadmap as well as a project roadmap. So this is the first release of this. And so right now they don't combine demand and project on the same roadmap, but you can create your individual roadmaps, one for demand, one for projects. So I'll highlight that. It's a very nice interface, very well received from customers. Here's kind of another view of that roadmap. So there's some preferences you can do there. You can, and I'll highlight that in the demonstration. As I mentioned, this is kind of the first release here. There's planned but not guaranteed future versions will include integrations with some of the other capabilities. So we're going to highlighting scenario planning today. So we'll be highlighting that. At some point, they're going to be looking at integrating here within the roadmap planning tool. So let me, next here, I just wanted to look at the scenario planning. So many of you might have used the portfolio workbench in the past, the portfolio planning workbench. Actually, in the system, you click on portfolio planning workbench to get to the scenario planning version 2. So there's 3 or 4 key updates here, provide some additional value as you're looking at your scenario planning. So one, as you can see here right up front, is getting you a larger picture and view here of your resource constraints. So here you can look at it from a group perspective, and you can look where you have capacity based upon the available utilization versus here where you've got areas that you have over utilization. And so you'll be able to see that here in the scenario planning. So we'll highlight that in the system. The next thing, and really big for customers, is that no longer will it only bring in demands and projects based upon one portfolio. So you can set the filters, and you can set what's going to be used in your scenario planning console. And so it's not tied to a specific portfolio. So you can bring in all demands and all projects as an example, and use that into your scenario planning. Also here, it's not tied to a specific physical year or physical calendar. And so that way you can look at, a current horizon. Maybe you wanted to look at a year or less than a year. You could also then expand it out to look at a 2-year horizon. So that's really nice as you're looking at your planning going forward. So it's not really tied to that fiscal year. And then, as I mentioned before here, looking at it from an overall resource planning. And then there's also some pagination capabilities here, so you can easily group your listing of demands and projects now that you can open it up across the enterprise. And then you can determine how many you want to see in a page, and then you can easily move to the next page of your listing of demands and projects. So at this point, I wanted to go in and provide a brief overview of those two capabilities. So I'll go here and start here with the alignment overall workshop here. So I'll do that. So here with my roadmaps, you can create your different roadmaps. As you can see here, I can come in here and create a roadmap. And you're basically identifying what entity you want to create that roadmap for. And so typically you do a demand or you do a project. You can see here you can do epics and other items. Some of the agile items are tied in with the ITBM professional license. So check with your ServiceNow rep for that. But this allows you to create those new roadmaps. In this case, I've created a demand roadmap and a project roadmap for our demonstration today. So if I want to go in here and look at the demand roadmap, so that's going to be pulling in the different demands here within our current environment. You'll notice here with this roadmap that I've got this strategies. So you can actually filter and group, if you will, your demands by different data elements. So as an example over here, I can kind of set my different preferences. So currently right now I'm looking at the color based upon investment type. So that's what's driving the different colors. The grouping is by strategy, so we can see the different strategies here. But we could obviously change those preferences. So from a grouping perspective, maybe if I wanted to group it by business unit, then I can group it here by business unit. I've got IT here, I've got legal, I've got sales here, so I can look at items here by business unit. And then from a color perspective, I could decide what I want to look at from a color perspective, and maybe I want to do that here by investment type. And so I could view my overall roadmap here by investment type. If I want to maximize my space, maybe I don't want to group it by business unit, so I could remove that. And I come back here and look at the overall roadmap. And I can see here that I've got my different demands. You'll also notice here on the demands that we've got some actual financial information here. So you can kind of pick and choose some information that you want to share on each one of those demands. So over here, by setting up your preferences, we can determine what we want to show. Right now, we're looking at labor cost first, operating budget, and total plan cost. So those are the items that are being displayed here. But if we wanted to adjust that, we could come in here and say we wanted to look at ROI. We could come in here and look at the overall ROI. Maybe not so concerned about the operating budget, but we still want the plan cost. And then maybe we wanted to come in here and look at the overall score. And so then we can look at it from a scoring perspective. And so then we can see here all of our different demands here. and how they relate. As we look down below here, we can also then see the legend. If we forgot the legend, here we can see it's by investment type, and we can see the different colors here for the overall roadmap. You'll see here too, right, who is the demand manager, so we'll see that person here as well. And then also what you can do is you can actually look at other demands that haven't been approved. They've actually added in a couple of different views here. Excuse me, they've had a couple additional approval actual thing that they call it the approved dates, your approved start date, your approved end date. And so based upon that, then you can kind of look at some of these unscheduled items. So if we wanted to look at some of these other items, we can actually drag and drop those items and actually add them here to our overall roadmap. You can see here that when you make changes here, it'll go and update your cost plans, your benefit plans, and resource plans. You'll be notified of that. Here again, you could not show that message, but in this case, we won't add that in, but it gives you that capability here as well. And then in addition to that, you can actually adjust the duration. So you could extend it out, or you can collapse the duration of the different demands. And it's going to prompt you here to let you know that you're going to change the underlying cost plans or benefit plans or resource plans. So great capability here for that high-level strategic planning. Also, you can see here that I can actually add a new item. So it's a very simple way to just put a placeholder in. So it'll actually create a demand record, but we could put the demand name, we can have the start date, the due date here, and we could submit that. And so we could add that here to our overall roadmap. So great set of capabilities here, and this is kind of looking at it here from an overall demand roadmap perspective. And then there are same capabilities here from a project roadmap perspective.
Hey, John, is it possible
Yes.
to combine the demand and projects into a single roadmap?
No, that's not available here with the first release. So common question. So that's not available. Also, typically people ask if we can print this out. There's no print function currently here with this first release. So that's a common question that we receive as well. This is a very well received roadmap. So you can see here, if I go back here, that was the demand roadmap. And then here, I'll be looking at the project roadmap. And here again, in this case, we're grouping it by portfolio. So we can kind of pick other ways to group things together. Here we can kind of check the legend here. And this happened to be colored by the portfolio as well. So just as an example here for our current projects. So that was kind of what we wanted to highlight there with the new roadmap planning solution. It's called the alignment workbench in the system. So if we were to come over here in the system, you'll see alignment planner workspace. And so that's what it's officially called. And then to get to that here, I went into the roadmap planning. You can set up your overall preferences here, so you'll need to do that first. But when I click here into the roadmap planning, then it takes me and opens up a new browser window and takes me here to my roadmaps. So that's how you navigate here to the roadmap planning. So just as an FYI there. The next thing I wanted to show was the scenario planning, which is the portfolio planning workbench. So I wanted to show you those capabilities here as well. And so, as I mentioned, there's 3 or 4 main changes here. The first one here, and you can kind of set this up as part of the preparation for putting together your scenarios, is that you can identify, do you want it to be by portfolio as it was in the past, or in this case, we're disregarding that and all demands, all projects coming in across all portfolios. And so you can use other filter criteria to determine what's going to be included here in your overall scenario planning. The other big thing here we highlighted before was the resources tab. So now we have the resources tab, and we can then look at all of our different groups, and we can look at whether we have excess capacity or not. So we can get that visualization here as well. And this initial view here, right, I happen to be just showing all the different columns. So this is kind of capability that was already existing. And so I can pick and choose which one of these data elements I want to show. But I could say, you know what, I really want to see the Gantt view. And so you can then look at the actual Gantt view. The other thing here, because now you can extend it out beyond just one portfolio, then down here from a pagination perspective, right, you can determine how many entries you want to view, and it's going to show you your current view here. So in this case, we said 100, but we've only got 59 in my demo environment, so we can see all 59 here in this particular scenario. Those of you that might not have been familiar with the previous version, you had the opportunity to have these multiple scenario comparisons. It was still tied to a specific portfolio that didn't have the pagination before, didn't have the resources before. The other thing you can see up here on top is new in Quebec. So you get to identify what your starting planning month. So in this case, we have it set at May, and then you get to set your planning window. So you could look at it here from a 3, 6, 9, 12-month horizon, all the way up to a 24-month horizon. So no longer tied to the fiscal period or fiscal year. So it gives you a lot of flexibility here when you're looking at your scenarios. And then, as we mentioned previously, you could establish these different scenarios. So each one of these scenarios here, you can look at your demands and projects and make your selections here. And so as I make those selections, right, it's going to automatically change the information over here in the overview section. And so we're going to see those updates as we make those particular changes. I think you can do like 4 to 5 different scenarios. So to create another scenario is really easy. You could just say identify, hey, maybe this is going to be ROI optimization as an example, and we want to copy it from let's copy it from our focus on all compliance and click on save. So it's going to add in this other scenario for you. And then you can come over here and start to do your planning and get rid of all of the selected initiatives. If we're going to focus here from an ROI perspective, right, we can come over here and make sure that we're looking at things from an ROI perspective. So we can come over here and bring in the ROI as a particular column. Maybe you want to sort here by overall ROI. So we can see here that maybe we want to adjust that. And so we've got 140, 127%. So we can say, yeah, we want to optimize ROI. So we're going to want to start in investing in those that have the largest ROI. So as we start adding those in here, we can start to see the overall plan cost, the number of actual demands and projects here. It's going to give us that total of the benefit amount. At a high level, it's going to let us know, do we have over-allocated groups? It's really nice that it will show us the actuals so we can understand any sunk costs. And then here's going to let us know if we have anything not aligned, say, to our strategies, as an example. So you can continue through that process here and be able to do that analysis. Next, then we can come here and look at and compare the scenarios. So we can see here the 4 different scenarios. We have the original confirmed plan. We can then see here the difference between the confirmed plan and each scenario. So we can see here that we have an increase of 5 million if we were to do scenario number 1. And in this case, we're going to increase 9 initiatives. So we're going to go from 8 demands here to 17 demands. However, our benefit's going to go up by 8 million. Our cost's going to go up for 5. So that's a pretty good savings or benefit for the organization. And we can just kind of check and make sure we don't have any resource issues and kind of confirm any of our current sunk costs. And so we can continue that analysis here. So if you look at this focus on compliance, here it's going to increase by 11 million. And we can see here we're actually going to increase by 16 million. So maybe this is even a better option from a benefit perspective, obviously as long as we have the budget to fund and initiate these projects. And then we have our ROI here. We just started our overall scenario planning. And so here we can see that currently what we have here would reduce our budget needs by around 3 million. but we are going to reduce here the number of demands here. So we're going to go from 8 to 6, and we're going to reduce our overall benefit amount here by almost 3 million. So it gives you that kind of visibility here into your scenario comparison. You can always click on override and make one of these as your new plan. But that's kind of an overview of the new capabilities here for the scenario planning, or in the system kind of called portfolio planning workbench. The tracking capability here was already existing. I don't have a good data in this demo environment. This is really only looking at projects because it's looking at those in-flight projects and looking at the overall health and the high level here health indicators around your schedule, cost, resource, and scope. So, but here from a planning perspective, you have some of those new capabilities that we just mentioned here in the Quebec release. So Sean, I don't know if you have any questions there on the scenario planning. If not, I'll continue forward.
I have a question. For this, can you only do it at the portfolio level, or could you provide additional filters?
You can do additional filters now. So that's the big change here. You can see here that I'm looking at all portfolios. So I didn't really put a filter here. And so that's the benefit here. It's not, constrained to a specific portfolio, and it's not constrained to a specific fiscal year. Yeah, really good question.
I know you can add additional portfolios, but what if I only wanted to see a subset of projects or demands within a given portfolio?
Yeah, you could just do your filtering on that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Yep, good question. So that's really powerful here of the updates here with the scenario planning. So if I come back over here to the presentation, do we have any other questions?
Can you export the data? Do you have any plans in future that to export to PDF, or at least export this data if needed for slicing and dicing for more reporting and stuff like that?
I don't know about the roadmap plans here, so we'd have to ask ServiceNow. I'm with ResultsPositive here as a partner, but I haven't heard any plans for that, but we do get that request a lot. So thank you. Yeah, good question.
Thank you.
Also, they mentioned with the planning roadmap here, right? So on the planning roadmap, if I want to come in and just show that to everyone again, the planning roadmap, this is a new capability that we showed earlier. And so this is a real nice new interface here, and this is meant for strategic planning. So this one here, you can adjust the duration here, and it's going to let you know that it's going to change the project or demand, I should say, demand dates and the associated cost plans, benefit plans, resource plans, and change it here. So my assumption is they're going to integrate this in with the scenario planning, and so you can change the dates here and then use this more for looking at your analysis on the budget side as well as on the resource side. So yeah, good question. But in their future releases, I said they're going to start integrating those two solutions together.
Just real quick, back when we were looking at the project roadmaps, there's a quick question about what the budget actual information was indicating. So I don't know if you can go back to that roadmap.
So I can go back to the project one. I can answer that two different ways. So here in the scenario planning, there's an actuals here. So this is going to take from the actuals of all the selected projects. If we go here on the roadmap itself, we want to go back here to the project roadmap. We can determine what financial information we want to display on each one of these projects. So here, if we come down into our preferences, in this case, we're looking at total plan cost and total benefit. If we wanted to, we could come in here. I think we've got actuals. We'll see here what they have available for that. I don't see the actual cost because this is more on the planning side. So they don't have the actual cost here. So this is all planned cost.
Okay, thank you. And then real quick, how did you get into the alignment planner? What's the process to arrive at that screen?
Yeah, so to get there, you come over here to your alignment planner workspace, right? So you can always either type in workspace as an example, or you can type in alignment here, and then here we can see the workspace. and you click on that workspace here. Actually, come down and click on the roadmap planning. That's going to take us here to the roadmaps. You'll see here I've got a product roadmap. That one's not set up to view, but some of the agile type entities that you want to do for roadmap on, those require the ITBM professional license. Our focus today was to show the project and the demand roadmaps.
Thank you.
So next thing I wanted to move towards, and let me go back into the presentation here. Just a couple of things. I'm not going to go into show demonstration on this, but those of you that are using, say, Slack, and you want to be able to collaborate while you're managing your project, you can do that now. They've got their version of integration here, and I'm sure that'll be expanding over time. Same thing here, the collaboration from a Teams perspective. A couple of the major items here, if you look at it from a collaboration perspective, maybe we want to auto-create an MS team from a project. We want to update MS team. We want to display the project status. We want to do some notifications on various actions, some archiving. So those are the initial set of capabilities you can use to collaborate. As an example here, if we're in Microsoft Teams, as an example, we can see the team members here, and that would be pulled in here from the different team members on your actual project. Next here is looking at the like a project status. Here's like a post, and you're just kind of sharing that project status here in Microsoft Teams. And here's looking at some of those action-based notifications. So just some general there about the collaboration capabilities. Next here on the virtual agent. So some customers are looking for ways to quickly get answers to questions and kind of use that virtual agent that you might be using to date on how to get help on the self-service portal. But here you can set those up, the virtual agent here. So they have some already some conversations that are previously set up in the application. So those can be turned on and used by the virtual agent. So an example of those here, you could have someone come in here and just say, hey, please show me a list of my active projects with red status, overdue milestones, overdue tasks. And so that would provide that back to you from the self-service portal. Here again, if you want to look at from a resource perspective, I have plans with actual hours greater than allocated. Maybe I'm looking at an allocated resource plan starting next week. So some quick ways to get access to some information. Next here, there's some other conversations that have been set up. So if I want to look at my active projects or my projects with an EAC greater than the planned cost, or my estimate completion greater than budget, and I could look at some data quality items. I have projects with strategy without program or portfolio being assigned. So quick ways to get access to information from the projects using the virtual agent.
Hey, John, just at a high level, how would you access the virtual agent if you wanted to make those changes?
Yeah, so typically the virtual agent is going to be on the self-service portal, and you just, as you normally would, you would set that up on the portal. This here is kind of behind the scenes on what they would actually experience. So if they were on the portal and they were asking questions of that agent, please help me with project information, then they would, the agent would start displaying this information. Hey, you're looking for information on your project status, you're looking for information on financials, and you can click on each one of those, and it'll have some of those common questions and can provide you with information. There is some multi-currency now support on your demands as well as the resource plans. So if you need to look at local currency, so that's now available with the Quebec release. Do have some task level status now, so you can see this here in the planning console. So now you can start to see red, yellow, green here within the planning console. That's down at the detailed task level, so you can edit in there and you can change that overall red, yellow, green. There is some integrations here for with the GRC, which is governance, risk, and compliance. module. So customers that have purchased that and are using that, you can tie that integration together, and that can help you with some overall enterprise risk management. So you can basically elevate your risk now to an enterprise risk, be tied into what the organization is assessing risks at across the organization. And then here you can look at, you can actually reuse, if you will, from your risk library here as you're looking at various risks. So leveraging some of the assets there within the governance risk and compliance module. They have some additional reporting views here. So getting into some of your residual risk, your residual heat maps here. So have some additional views there. And we can see that here. If we look at it from an overall, say, project perspective, here's your different sections on your project. And then here you look at your overall risk overview and be able to view that information here at the project level. And next here is just looking at an overall dashboard, if you will. And so here we can kind of look at, you select different projects. We can look at different risk information, risk assess, residual risk. So kind of the combination of GRC and what's going on there, as well as the risk management at the project level. And there's also some tie-in to the audit side. The next thing I wanted to get to is looking at from a resource management perspective. And I'm going to highlight those here in the system. So I'm now here in the system. I'm here in the actual allocation workbench. So that's where I've come here. I'm down with the resource allocation workbench. And I've went in here to my analyst team and looking at my overall board here. So one thing that's been added here is now you can actually see if a specific resource plan has specified a specific resource, and you kind of get this person icon here. So I can open up that particular resource plan, and it's going to tell me who's actually been requested. So we can see here that Troy's been requested for that particular resource plan. So that'll help you as you're going to look at allocating a resource to your resource plan. So that's a nice new capability. Also here we can look at, actually I need to look at, let's look at our allocated. So here on this particular resource plan, now you can actually extend your resource plan. So now we can extend it. And so that's a really time saver. So now we can extend this resource plan. We can select, how far we want to extend it. We can actually then identify, hours, how we want to include those additional time and effort, and we could put in the additional hours, and we could then update that overall resource plan. So it's going to extend that item, and we'll be able to also see that they've added an extension requested. So now once we've extended that here, we can come in and look at the extended requests. So kind of another state here that they're looking at. So what I was doing there was kind of extending it from the resource manager perspective. Typically the PM would extend it, and then that request would come in, and I'd be able to see that request here by selecting on just the E here for extension request. So that's one of the other capabilities. Also here now you can allow you to search by task. So you can search by task. That gives you the chance to search by project. So when you have a large list of resource plans and you're trying to understand which project they're related to, you've got that ease of use enhancement as well. So those are the major enhancements here from a resource management perspective, just making it easier for you to manage and maintain your resource plans and your resource allocations and those extensions. Those of you that might not have been using the Paris version, here we can now move a resource plan. So that was a previous enhancement. There's also a new enhancement here to replace a user. So if we want to replace a user, we can do that as well. So here we've got the current user is Troy. we want to now replace that with another user here, and we can select the actual time period. So really a lot of good capabilities here to make it easier to maintain and keep your resource plans up to date.
Hey, John, from the allocation workbench there, do they have the ability to add operational resource plans?
No operational resource plans from here. You can create new plans, but they're all assumed to be resource plans. Yeah, good question. And then those of you that might not have seen the resource allocation workbench, it's really a good reporting tool as well. So as you're looking at making allocations, right, we can look at, in this case, we're just looking at Troy. And so it's letting us know here, Troy's availability here. We could also then extend this out and if we wanted to get other visibility. But if I want to come back here to planning, and if I wanted to go into one of my previous ones here for analysts, I can click on the analyst view here, and it's going to show me all the team members. And so I can start to view all that information here. I can kind of start getting a heat map if I've got availability issues of our team. And so that's a nice set of capability that's available. So you kind of get some of that reporting, and you can actually drill in and see, maybe I should show that here. Typically here, and I'm not showing it right now, but typically you can see all the different assignments here. And so that's also available here when you look at it from an overall resource finder perspective. So that's kind of a summary of the nice little enhancements here to highlight ease of use and ways to easily maintain your resource plans. So you'll have those slides here that we'll provide to you. So you'll have those slides to kind of see those items. From an Agile perspective, it doesn't look like we have time to do this, but I wanted to highlight one core function here around the program planning. And so this is kind of more that strategic level planning. This is meant to be for organizations that are not quite ready to go to scaled Agile, but they still need to do some more strategic planning. And so that's the goal and objective here of the program planning. So you can still, this is used with the Agile 2.0. And so they had this program board previous version, and it was focused here on the backlog and the planning. But what was added new here was now I can actually see the backlog here for each one of the different teams. So basically you've got a program. A program can be a combination of multiple teams working on your program. And we can then look at our specific backlog that we're looking for. But also now with Quebec version, we can look at the team's backlog. Then you can drag and drop that backlog into the different sprints. So we can see the different sprints here. Also, you can see here that you can visualize the different dependencies between the stories of the different sprints. So it could even be across teams. You could show the dependencies. So that's also available here as part of the program planning. So that's the big capabilities there from an Agile perspective.
And to access that, John, do you need ITBM Pro or the standard license work?
My understanding is I think you need to have ITBM Pro to do the program planning. So yeah, good question. So next, what I wanted to do here is go in and show you some of our solutions here, just to give you an idea of some of the solutions that our customers are taking advantage of. And so the reason that we create these solutions, it says custom, which they are, but we're using the Service Portal technology, so they're easily upgradable. And so that's really important for us when we create solutions for customers. And the reason for these particular views here is to address some common pain points. So if you're looking for an executive report to look just like what you see here, we'd have your bubble chart, you would have your listing, and that would go across multiple pages. To have it look and feel just like this, to save it to a PDF or to actually print it out, that's the typical reasons that we create these custom portals, as well as the optimized printing associated with it. So that's really key. Also, we can use these to create and report, say, metrics that aren't in the system. So we can create and report variance metrics on your projects, as an example. So here's a strategic roadmap, kind of grouping all your different demands here and kind of looking at the demand listing for details. Here's, let's say, a report that you wanted to print out so that executives have this to kind of review and approve the different demands that they're being requested to fund. So this way they can print this out, save it to PDF, walk around, go talk to the different team members, and that way they can assist with that approval process. And so it'll print out the charts here as well as the detailed listing. Next here, just a simpler way to do your business case. So out of the box, you can have a business case created into a PDF, but it's not formatted and kind of tightly tied here. We can obviously change this, make it more red, yellow, green information. So sky's the limit also on a service portal. So you can dream it, we can design it and build it on the service portal using that app development capabilities in ServiceNow. We have a really popular status reports. So either at the program level or at the project level, doing these 1-page or even a 2-page status report. So any type of graphical view. This here is a program view. So we're looking at the different projects. We're looking at the overall health. We're looking at the program roadmap. Here we're looking at recent completed activities, upcoming activities. So really enhances the out of the box capabilities, but it's actually viewed right within your container where you see your kind of legacy status report. So from an end user, it's going to look like it's just part of the core system.
And that's native. That's native, just out of the box, no configuration needed for that. That's
so these are ResultsPositive custom report. And but yeah, we can install them for you, and they're going to look just like they're native. We're using all the core, service portal reporting capabilities. And so we've got both project 1-pagers and program 1-pagers as well as 2-pager. So some customers wanted to be able to have more information on their executive summary. They wanted to be able to list more completed activities and issues, more projects as part of their program. So we can look at here the kind of the planned activities. And then here's kind of looking at the actual program roadmap, showing more of that roadmap. This is from a 2-pager perspective. But we can tailor these views and kind of make your own type of layout for a status report. And any graphics are possible there. And then we have other types of reports that organizations want to be able to report. This is an example we're bringing in and actually calculating a variance and showing a variance perspective. So it's a great visualization that the teams can go to use from a reporting real-time perspective, but also can save to PDF and print it out as well into a report. So another example of kind of what you can do with the service portals. Next here's more at the portfolio level. So we typically have that request of, hey, I want to look at that roadmap, but I want to look at that roadmap and I want to print it out. And so we facilitate the ability to do that. We've also added in various filters so you could filter items. So a lot of possibilities there. Next here is a resource forecast and availability. So this is where you can kind of slice and dice and understand from a role perspective, or you could do it by group. This really answers a lot of key questions that customers have a hard time getting access to. So here is showing you up front, is going to show you your detailed level of capacity by hours, and you can see that by month. Then here you're going to look at the demand estimate of hours for all the demand requests. Then you're going to look at all your projects that have been allocated and what the allocated hours are. Then you're going to look at your unallocated hours. And then at the bottom here, you're going to look at a variance. So it's going to let you know if you have anything in red and what the variants are in terms of hours. And then down below, you'll have a complete list of all of your demands and all the forecasted hours they are looking at for those resource plans by role or by group. And same thing here from a project perspective. And then you can print out this whole entire page and use that to do more analysis here as you're trying to manage your resources. So really powerful, gives you a lot of the information in a way that customers are expecting the information to be displayed. This one here is a really an interesting one where we're actually looking at it more from a work portal perspective. So here you're having a chance to look at operational work and project work. So here it's showing you kind of the average days in open of, say, incidents or service requests. This also could be done with change requests. You've got the on-time completion, you've got incidents, and kind of your backlog per month, your service requests per month. Then over here, we're looking at demand tasks. So how much work effort's being required to pull together your business cases. And then over here, looking at projects and project tasks. Then down below, we've got a tab for each one of those items. And then you can also print this out. So it's going to show you a running list of all the incidents, all the service requests, all the demand tasks, all the projects. So very powerful here if you're trying to look at overall work demand and in-flight items across your different teams. Next one here, this one is a powerful one as well. This one here is if you wanted to do your own what-if scenario. So similar to what you saw out of the box, but what we do here is we actually give you the financial information, and you're going to look at that by fiscal year, as well as show the Gantt chart view. And so you can move your projects in and out, and that's going to change the financials and what the totals will be per year, as well as it's going to change the Gantt chart. So we have customers are kind of looking more advanced type of ways of looking at planning and want to have that superimposed financials as well as a timeline in one view. So that's an example there of that particular portal. So just wanted to highlight those, that some things that you're looking for to print out and to get that view, or you want to be able to create some of those KPIs that are not in the system. The service portals are a great way to do that. And we'd love to assist you in any of those type of implementations. We could use some of our templates here and implement that, or we can start from scratch and design a specific view for you and your organization. So here is that custom status report here in the system. And so we can see that here. So it looks just like it's part of the core system. And so instead of using the out-of-the-box text-based report that kind of scrolls and scrolls, here's a view of the one-pager. We do have a two-pager as well. And as I mentioned, we can customize and tailor this for you. But then every time everybody comes in and creates a project status report, it'll look the same way. And we've also set it up in a fashion that if you wanted the one and the two-pager, the PM could select which type they wanted, and that would then generate the different options for the status report. So this is just an example of what we use for actually managing our projects to implement for customers. And then we create variations of this for customers based upon their requirements. So yeah, thanks again for the question on that. But just thought you'd like to see it here in the system, and it is using ServiceNow technologies. In terms of next steps, typically what we see customers do is maybe they want to have a more deep dive demonstration with the Quebec capabilities. So if that's something you're interested in, we can definitely schedule that with you and your team. We have many organizations that like to attend our implementation roadmap workshops. So those are available. So if you'd like more information on that, we can let you know there. And so what we do there is we walk through approach by which within 4 hours you can have a draft roadmap for your organization. And we'll be sharing 4 of the most common roadmaps, and you'll be able to update that from there. Also, you could schedule a more deep dive into information about our custom reporting solutions, and then we could talk about tailoring that for your organization. We could give you some pricing on that as well. Other organizations, maybe you haven't implemented ServiceNow yet, or maybe you're looking to implement the next phase. We do many implementations here. And so that can be a full end-to-end implementation, or we do our advisory guided setup, where your internal team might do the actual configuration, and we can conduct the workshops. We can help design the solution and create the stories based on recommended best practices. So those are the 4 common next steps. Well, thanks everyone for attending today. We look forward to following up with you, and hope you have a great rest of your week and a happy holiday coming up. So thanks again for your attendance.